From beyond the farthest reaches of our galaxy they come. Two brains pulsing with a strange energy. These space brains come to share their love of science fiction movies.
Hi and welcome to Space Brains, the show where we joy watch sci-fi movies and then talk about what was good and what was great. I'm Surrey and this is Mark.
Hiya. Tonight we're talking about Alien. So consider this your spoiler warning.
Okay, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, I can only assume that you have no eyes, ears, nose or mouth.
No, it might be youngster, might be a real youngster. You know,
okay,
just
if you're
really
too
get
young
it.
to actually see this movie, it'll probably give you nightmares, but still go back and watch it anyway because there might be nightmares that turn into amazing things later on.
It is 40 years old, so someone that is now 20 might look at it and kind of go, what is it? Like, I didn't know about this movie. Like, I know it sounds bizarre, but they really might. Like, that generational thing, because it is starting to get older. Like,
well, you've got the Alien vs. Predator.
I know.
But so there'll be a certain man there, but this obviously been the first movie. They made it without knowing that there was going to be any
sequels and
in fact they were probably surprised that they made the movie in the first place, really, let alone the fact that it would become popular.
Yes, but anyway, you should go watch it right now.
Tune back in,
come back to us
because we're not going to hold back on any secrets or anything. It's all coming out tonight.
Yep.
Or today. Because it's a podcast, you could listen to it anytime, really.
That's right. You can download and go back, press pause, and then come back around.
I like to think that everyone's like listening to this real time.
Yeah,
real
live
stream.
Yeah.
We should do live stream.
We should do a live stream.
They'd hear all the ums and ahs and
and
the mouth clicks that we do.
Yeah, realise that there is a whole big studio here being produced, and we've been edited live on air.
You don't know how much umming and ahhing and empty space I pull out of these episodes.
Yeah. No, there's lots. So what is the deal for you about Alien? Sorry, what is this movie for you?
For me, this movie really sets up the mystery of space and I guess the fear of exploration. On one hand, humans are out in space. They're tugging great big moving factories, processing ore. And they're doing it at some decent speed. They're expecting 10 months. I think at one point it was mentioned 10 months to get home. And so I think 10 months in space, they're obviously somehow travelling quickly. It doesn't go into any of that in the movie. But they've got the technology, and they're landing on planets and they're getting about and they're doing stuff. So they've even got synthetic human getting about. So there's a lot of that sort of thing which, even though the movie itself is kind of a bit of a horror movie, it nonetheless filled me with this amazing fascination with the mysteries of space, particularly because more than the horror aspects, I really looked at the mystery of this alien derelict spacecraft where the eggs are on. And you can just see there's a story behind that.
Oh, definitely.
And they try to come up with a story in sort of in Prometheus movie.
Okay.
That sort of, it doesn't quite touch on this particular ship, but it goes into some of the details. But yeah, it was just fascinating. I was thinking there's this, not just the alien as an alien life, but the ship that they found the alien eggs on was an entirely other species of alien life.
That the alien had also overtaken.
The other thing, of course, is that it's also good to play by the rule book. Throughout this movie, Ripley, our character, is continually trying to get people to do the right thing.
She does, doesn't she?
She keeps saying, we have to do quarantine. We can't just let them on, we can infect the whole thing. And then another one was, when we hear a distress signal, we have to go investigate it.
Yeah.
She's very by the book. And had everyone actually gone by the book, they would have been perfectly safe.
That's right.
Quite remarkable that in many movies, they try to sort of show that sometimes you just got to break the rules.
That's true.
And this one is like, no, sometimes you just got to... The rules are there for a good reason.
Yeah.
So that's the two things I think that I got. The mystery and wonder exploration, that beautiful journey into space and the amazing things you can have. And perhaps whilst you're doing that, sort of follow the rules.
There's a little fun fact also about that alien prop on the planet that they go to, where he's sitting there in front of, is it a telescope or a gun? I'm a little bit unsure exactly.
That's my wife. And she says, "Is that a gun?" I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think we're meant to know really what it is. No, it's a navigation device or something.
And we know they say he's fossilized. It's obviously happened a long time ago, and we also know that his ribs have been broken from the inside out. So he wasn't a happy camper probably when he died. But a little fun fact, that particular prop, they parked it at the premiere, which was only a minor thing in a LA cinema. And people, as someone damaged it, they burnt it. They set it afire because they thought it was evil. So after watching the movie,
it looked pretty...
they got so freaked. No, but after watching the movie, they were so freaked from the actual alien movie that they went out and they thought it was evil. They thought this was something untoward. So that's what this movie has, that impact on people. I think that it is freaking scary, this movie, but it is a sci-fi as well. So it does the perfect mix of the two worlds, I think, the two genres.
It's very good, and I suppose that is what I got from it too, that inspiration and wonder from sci-fi, but then the consequences of not following rules. You end up with aliens crawling through space.
Yeah, and I guess
air ducts,
I guess what you're saying as well, like, it's funny because generally in horror, people break rules and then they get punished. Whereas Ripley is basically saying, let's follow the rules. You know what I mean? Like, follow the rules. And others on the ship want to, and then others don't. And plus, we do have a saboteur on the plane, on the ship, as well.
Yeah, in the horror movies, often it's the authority figure who's trying to enforce the rules who gets killed. Well, there's the plucky teenager who is a bit of a rebel, but not too much of a rebel, just a little bit. Because if they're too much of a rebel, they get taken out early on. Particularly if they're kissing someone.
Yeah, I know. God forbid.
So, how about you though? Can we fit this into a hope, warning, or experiment?
Well, to me, this is warning. It's warning, really, because literally they are sent to a planet to investigate under the guise that there's this message coming out, possibly an SOS message. So they go there, and that's where they find the eggs and then the face hugger, and they're attacked, and then they bring it back on the ship. So, and I think it is pretty much a warning, even just from what we've said, because on one side of the fence, Ripley was trying to say, follow the rules. And in fact, the company behind, the employer of all these crew, they're the ones kind of wanting to break the rules, aren't they? And then we're being punished for that.
And I think that was a really great point too, and I think this is one of the reasons why Alien has become this kind of franchise of there's 4 official movies, and then there's Alien vs Predator, and then there's Alien there's some other Alien one. There's another one in there. Prometheus and the second Prometheus, and it's become such a thing because they left a number of elements unspoken or unexplored. The whole Ash, the robot. He had this special order to retrieve a specimen, all other priorities secondary. That was only explored insofar as the adding to the tension and horror of the fact that they didn't even need to be there. Yeah. They were sent there on purpose, knowing that there was going to be danger. Yeah. And also having a robot on board whose primary consideration was saving this alien and killing it and not giving a damn about everyone else. That, however, leads to this question of, well, who's this company? Why are they doing this? How did they know about the alien? And how many of these synthetics are going around doing stuff? What's the agenda? Yeah. And that sort of means it gives you that glimpse into a bigger world. Oh, definitely. And I think it is interesting that this company, they sent them on this mission. They're all been sent there to go to the minerals. That's the thing, like a mining mission. So they've gone off and they've done that, and then they're coming back to Earth, and they're kind of woken under this disguise of, oh, well, it's an emergency beacon. But as we find out throughout the story, in fact, Ash, the robot, or the synthetic robot human, he was replaced the day before the mission, I think we're told, and then he's on board. So he knew all along, and that was the mission, wasn't it? So so the company's really
I mean, yeah, who is this company and what are they up to? They've sent a crew out into space to do the job, but then on the way back, I don't know. So I suppose back on Earth, are they maybe PR-wise, it's kind of like, oh, well, our ship accidentally stumbled across this beacon, like they created that whole story, you know, just to kind of make it seem like they're not up to trouble.
They
but
didn't
then
go into anything else about this company, about what it does. There was no other... Yeah, often in these sort of movies, you might get a news story or some a photo or a bit of promotional material, which kind of somehow paints this story. But this corporation, the Weyland-Yutani, was not prominent anywhere else in the movie.
No.
Which could have made it a real sore thumb type of thing. Like, you're going, well, why did you have that in there? But I think managed to pull it off so that it is actually this little hook, it's not too big a question, but there's a little question in your mind there about, what does this mean for the larger universe? It gives you a peek into the fact that the story extends beyond this one little encounter on a ship. You've got to think, how many other ships have they diverted to do their little secret missions for unknown reasons? So we don't know why they want this specimen.
That's right.
You've got to expect there's scientific value in having it. But how do they know about what is that scientific value?
Yeah.
There's the obvious things of, well, you could use it to kill people.
Yeah.
But you can use guns. We've got guns for that. What do you need some alien creature? You don't want that.
Yeah. But maybe, again, I think it's really quite... like, I watch this film now in 2019 and it feels like huge multinational companies they feel like this. They feel like this company at times, you know, that they're very distant and who are they really behind the scenes? You know, they're doing all sorts of things. And yet this was back in 1979 and the writers kind of were saying this as well, isn't it? So 40 years ago, they felt that there must have been a bit of political tension around big companies, and because there is a whole thing in this film, you know, like from the start of the film, the workers, you know, the two guys, Parker and Brett. That's it.
Yeah, Brett and Parker.
Brett and Parker, those two. So they're the mechanics, the engineers, whatever, and they're like complaining about pay. They want more pay. They want a bigger slice of the pay.
Yeah, they feel like they're not being appreciated for their skills.
No one comes down here. They don't come down here.
As an engineer myself, I have to agree. We're never appreciated for
instance. But it exacerbates that, you know, company, us and them, doesn't it? You know, like middle management and below management. And I know Dallas, you know, the captain, he says a bit of it. He goes, it doesn't matter. Like, take the organism back. That's what they want. That's what they want. You know, like, who cares? I'm just doing this. I don't trust anyone. I'm just here, get my pay and then move on, you know, like to another gig, you know. So, yeah, I think it's a major warning, this film. Major warning. Be careful where you go out in space. Anyway.
Rightio. Well, have you been watching anything else or getting into anything else this week? Are you done a bit of research or anything? Or?
I will say this movie, watching it again, and this connects to my career, I'm a bit it's a bit of an aha, this film again, because it's like, this is what I need to aspire to, you know, and I don't mean making an alien film, but I just mean this film in particular to me is that perfect roller coaster of a narrative. You know, like, it's got intrigue, it's got a killer monster, you know, one of the best monsters, and then great cast, awesome sets, and you just, you know, like, there's a couple of moments, even though I've seen this film a lot, like, I still jump, you know, still freaking jump when Dallas is in that aircon vent and he turns and the freaking thing's right there.
Says,
you know, like,
hello.
And it's like, hello.
Spirit fingers.
That's right. But it's like, you can't help but jump, you know, like, they perfectly timed those moments. And when you mix it into the world of this spaceship, the design of this spaceship, it's so claustrophobic. These people are totally stuck on this ship.
There's some really beautiful aspects about that spaceship, which I'll talk about in the favourite scenes.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
We'll get to that, yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, for me as a script writer and filmmaker, I've had an aha from this film, like a real inspiring moment of, this is what I want to leave as a legacy of my filmmaking career. So, you know, you think about Ridley Scott, he's made so many good movies over his career. This one is his second feature. Like, it's absolutely outstanding, you know.
Gladiator, didn't he?
He did do Gladiator, yeah. Blade Runner, you know.
I was just trying to think of it at my top of my head, and I was going, why do I think I know this now? Yeah, Gladiator. Well,
yeah, Gladiator is a brilliant movie.
I think also in this movie, it really showed from a script point of view and also from the directing point of view that less can be more.
Definitely.
As we're saying, like, this Weyland-Yutani company has this plot in there, but we don't
We don't find out much about it.
They're not talking about it. It's not any major piece. It's not about bringing the company down.
No.
And then there's other things like I said, we get a view of the sort of class structure going on in this universe. And we'll do a plot synopsis, but I can do a 2-sentence plot synopsis of this. I'll do it right now. In fact, crew land on a planet following an SOS beacon. An alien comes on board, kills a bunch of people. Someone escapes. Yeah, that's the plot.
That is the plot.
It's how it's executed, and there's plenty of other movies where there's a lot more going on. There's all sorts of things, which is good in its own way. But this really shows, a stripped down, sparse plot. There's not a lot to get in the way of the tension and the cinematics and the acting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you're getting this in your scripting. Is this major? Are you revising your script, or are you looking to write a new one and trying to?
I think
incorporate something
going forward. It's just that's going to be the goal. Like this film sets a bit of a bench. That was my aha. Like I've been writing script, short and features for a few years now, and I've made some short films as well. And it just suddenly the aha in this viewing. I've watched this film a few times, but in this particular viewing, I'm sitting there going, this is a very good benchmark. I feel like it has all of those right elements. If you do think we're talking about this film 40 years after it's come out, and a lot of the scenes in these films people have taken and used in other films. It's been mimicked and joked about, also in comedy films. And it's an amazing legacy, and it has spawned prequels and short films and other films as well, and a crossover to Predator and stuff.
It's really elevated that Monster in the Room to an A-level movie.
That's right, yeah. So, and I think people that maybe aren't into sci-fi would also like this. Someone that does absolutely love horror would like this, for sure, because it does both of them. So that's what I mean. I just think I think me going forwards from today, my writing needs to try to hit this mark. And then my filmmaking as well. Like, this is the benchmark now,
I know. That's the goal. I look at these things and it's often hard. When I was writing Exit Plan, for example, I was reading all sorts of information about plotting and structure and how to captivate, all these sorts of things. And I've wrote down so many notes. It's really good when you can find one of your little notes is to say, I have to make sure that I do something about this. But then you find a physical example of it, and you can look at it and go, that's really it. And you sort of think, how do I capture something like that? Because you don't want to make Alien.
No, I don't want to do Alien either.
I can see. I would love to have something that because I really love in my own writing to have lots of stuff going in the background, mysteries or plots or stories or some sort of thing in the background which never actually even comes into the main story, and it doesn't get resolved. There's no answers. It's just kind of, as you're following the main story, you just know that there's all this other stuff happening. You're just got a little spotlight on one area. I'm not sure if I succeeded in doing that in any of my writing. I like to think I'm trying that in Exit Plan. If people were to listen, the main narrator often asks these questions about, if there's this one group of Catholic order that sort of deals with magic and monsters. Well, they can't be the only order. And what about governments? Like, how could this go unknown by some sort of government organisation? CIA and Asia and so forth, they're just absorbing as much information out of the world as they can constantly. Yeah. Surely that's known. So, but none of that ever comes into the story. So there's just, don't know if I managed to do it like this Alien thing. Because again, clearly in Alien, people watched Alien and then the sequel, and from that have drawn so much fiction out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
And so much so that Predator 2 did that little, and this is where the whole crossover came from in Predator 2, the movie, at the end when Danny Glover's character gets on board the Predator spaceship, which was crashed in LA somewhere, and there's like trophies on the wall, and there's like a dinosaur skull or like a T-Rex or something, and but then in the background there's like an alien skull. Yeah. And it's a throwaway moment. It just scans past. It's kind of just a little Easter egg, if you will, a little nod. But that one little, 1 second pan past this wall of trophies where it made everyone go, oh, Predator and Alien.
Yeah,
they're in the same universe. Oh my
are.
God! And that suddenly threw everything. That I said, yeah, I've got to admit, if I could come up with anything like that, where some other creator somewhere or other does a little Easter egg nod to something that I've made.
That's right.
And that then just sparks more people just going crazy. That would be the ultimate. I mean, lots of money would be good too. But seeing people getting that inspired by fitting pieces into a puzzle that never actually existed.
That's right.
They didn't make Alien knowing that it's going to be anything else. It was just at the time, it was just a B-movie. In fact, Dan O'Bannon, the writer, he said the reason he started doing it, he started shopping around, was because he had no money. Yeah. He was, a starving artist, as we all are. And so he was just shopping around trying to get someone to pledge a bit of money to it. He wasn't looking for much. He was expecting it to be a low budget. He wanted to be better budget than his first movie, which was a student movie. Yeah, so I agree. You see something like Alien, and you think of your own work, and you think, oh, there's elements in there. Yeah. So just, how do I come in at the right level so I'm not hitting someone over the head with it, and I'm not like totally bypassing them.
I think like the crew of this shit, when you kind of look at their dialogue between each other, that's what I mean about the guys complaining about the pay. And you've also do have someone that's, with the character of Ash, who's a bit of, he's sabotaging the events. Mm. You've got Ripley, as you said before, like, she's saying, no, let's follow Predator. I mean, it's very realistic to what a crew, like a bunch of people working together are like, and it's not about them being in relationships or anything like that. They're just a team that work together on a pretty boring kind of part of a mission. And then now they've discovered these aliens, You
don't even get the feeling that they're a long-term crew.
No.
They sort of seem to be... you don't feel as if they've worked for years and years together and formed some sort of family bond.
That's right, yeah. No,
it seems, you can imagine they seem to know each other a bit.
Yep.
But that could just be because their mission has spanned for months. Yep. And being, spending that much time, 6 months with the same bunch of people day in, day out. Yeah. You will form something.
And again, I think, like you and I have spoken about this previously, of the idea of, we're going to look at Alien. We've seen this beacon and we think it's aliens. That could be a typical plot. That could have been a different way of doing this film. Mm. And it's like, I'm an engineer and I'm a mechanic and I'm a captain and I'm the safety officer, and and just we've all got our skills in different ways. And so many films have done that over the years. Yeah, but this film, it's, we're in on just a working everyday crew. At the start, I love that scene where they do wake up and then they just start eating breakfast, and then they kind of get into their roles, don't they? We sort of learn a bit more about their roles. But again, it's not like they're not fighting over each other. There's not really sexual tension between the characters. They're not carrying
workers. They're not carrying on previous conversations. And it's just like, they have a bit of breakfast, or what you having on this, that kind of thing.
Which is pretty much what it's like in the workforce, isn't it?
Captain says, well, I'll go talk to the computer and find out what's going on.
That's right. And he goes off and does his thing. It's just really, in a way, it's bland, but it's like perfectly written dialogue in a way for that, I think. So anyway, that's the goal, I reckon. This is a good benchmark film.
Okay, so a viewing experience. And do you remember when you first saw this?
Yeah, it's interesting with this one because I watched this after I'd seen Aliens. Oh. So I didn't watch it in logical order. And in fact, I think I'd seen Aliens a couple of times before I even saw this. And I must admit, when I first then watched this, I was probably like 13. I was a bit like, it's scary and all that sort of stuff. But I wasn't as excited about it because Aliens is more like, wham, bam, thank you, man, all the guns and all the big explosions and it's very epic Aliens, whereas
and
this
is
more subtle.
About the eggs and the face huggers and the chest
bursts. Yes, that's right. And it just, I think being a 13-year-old boy at that point, I loved the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone big actions of the 80s and stuff like that. So then to sit down and watch Alien where there's lots of quiet moments, lots of tension, lots of dark, you don't get to see a lot.
A lot of strobe lights.
A lot of strobe lights.
I gotta say, there should be an epilepsy warning for this one.
Should be, shouldn't there? But it felt a bit like, I'm not seeing much because a lot of it's much more subtle, as we just said. So that was the first. And then when I went to film school, it was one of those things that, of course, it's really talked about this film. in a lot of ways, setting and lighting and the creature reveal and stuff. So, being 18, 19, I was like, yep, and I did that with a few films I'd seen. I went back and watched them again, and I was like, oh, I get it. This is a really great film. So, yeah, it kind of opened my eyes, and especially because then when I was about 18, I really did like a lot of horror. So I was watching a lot of horror, and I was like, wow, this is really quite horrific. It ticks a lot of those boxes, and especially with that creature. Yeah, it is a freaking scary creature, this alien.
I think the design of that creature, done by H.R. Giger, I can't remember what Horace? I think his name's Horace, but he goes by H.R. Giger. It's so unlike any other alien creature, and it's just got that. It's got a really, it looks alien in that it doesn't seem to have recognizable material. Like, what is it made out of? It looks metallic or stone or rubber, or it doesn't have any of those sort of qualities.
It's shiny, it's glistening, it
doesn't make it look. It looks alien. Like the ribs and the ridging on it look almost technological. Yeah, but clearly it's not. It's entirely biological. But it's that alien design was just it was amazing. And I watched the making of, and they were talking about it, and they were trying to come up with some. I saw some of the early concepts of aliens drawn by one of the artists who actually did the spaceship exteriors. Yeah, he presented a couple, and they looked so bad. Good drawings. The guy's he's a good artist. He drew it well, but you're trying to imagine it as some sort of. It didn't look scary. Like it was scary in that it had fangs dripping with blood and these hooks for hands and 4 weird legs and stuff. But it was just not. It didn't have that horror factor. That bit which sort of repelled you. And when when Giger was talking on this doco, he's showing some of his artwork, his painting, and he's saying he's showing this first image which inspired the alien, which sort of said something like that. And he took it and he changed it. He said he took away its eyes. He didn't want it to have any eyes, because when it has eyes, then you know what it's looking at. You think you know what it's thinking. It gives it character. So he took the eyes away because that meant it was just unknowable. You couldn't know what it was. And he made his head just a long, smooth sheet. Yeah. Again, no features, so you couldn't tell what it was hearing. It's just this entirely different from anything else. So there's no horns, there's no ridges, there's nothing. It's just that smooth carapace, almost like a cockpit of a fighter jet type of thing. Yeah, some of these features he put on there, and his breathing tubes are on the back. Again, anything that's sort of extrusions like that and orifices, taboo, really. Yeah, right. If it's not a mouth, then we kind of don't really want to know about it in our society. And so giving it 4 of these honking great snorkel things out the back, which seem to drip fluid, and you weren't sure, were they breathing tubes or are they something else, some sort of sensory organ? You don't know, but it looks horrible because it's got holes into its body where it shouldn't have holes into its body. And the whole experience, I think, by engaging and a concept artist like Giger, I think, really added to the effect of having this alien. So even when it was revealed, you couldn't really tell what you were looking at. No, that's right. It was humanoid, but no, you couldn't tell anything about it. There's no way of reading emotion. It couldn't snarl and go, "Oh, I'm angry," or lick its lips or anything like that. There's none of that nonsense in there. It was almost like looking at a machine, but you knew it wasn't a machine, so it had desires. It wasn't just a killer. It had an agenda. Yes. That I think is just, that's what really turns the tables on that. Yeah, yeah. So I can't actually remember the first time I saw it. Yeah, right. I'm trying to think whether I saw it before or after Aliens, the sequel. I have a feeling it was before, because I saw it on DVD. Oh, not DVD.
Come on, you're not that young. It'd be VHS. Nice and grainy. Yeah, You wouldn't have been able to really see those dark scenes.
Well, the funny thing is, when you're watching VHS and that's all you've ever known, you don't realise.
No, that's exactly right. You're completely correct.
I'm pretty sure I saw it beforehand, and I would have been about 10. I don't know, what were my parents thinking? They didn't officially let me watch it, or did they?
Yeah, I know.
Or was it on TV?
Might have been on TV. That's the thing. A lot of those movies.
I think it was on TV actually.
So you'd sneak a few of those movies in. I know. I used to.
And I remember I was old enough to not be just terrified by it. Like I saw American Werewolf in London when I was too young.
Yes.
And that gave me nightmares for months afterwards.
That's interesting you mentioned that. You and I have never talked about that movie. That was scary.
I couldn't open blinds of a curtain.
Yep.
Because I think that's one of the first movies that did that, jump scare of pull the blinds apart and then something's there. It's like the good old mirror in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's right.
Why do they always do that? Or the refrigerator door, they open it, close it.
And then it's right there.
But yeah, so I watched it then and I remember at the time, I think I was more actually interested in the fact that they found an alien spaceship on a planet.
Yeah, right.
More so than the fact there was an alien killing people.
Yeah.
That kind of didn't really register that much to me. That was almost like, well, of course there's going to be an alien killing people. I mean, you found an alien spaceship, you got to expect that. I was more interested in the fact of, how did the spaceship crash there? Why? How did they end up with those eggs?
Yep.
And what's that story?
Yeah.
Strange. So we're going to talk relative preferences. Our ladder. We've got the lobster, passengers, equals the beyond.
Oh, the beyond and then equals.
Beyond and then equals.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question with this one is does this go on the ladder? Or is this just beyond the ladder?
This is a benchmark film. It was the film that basically elevated monster horror to A level.
Oh, definitely.
And showed that you could have creative science fiction with what had up till then been seen as sort of a drive-in theatre, non-award winning. It was what's the cinema equivalent of literature? The difference between pulp fiction versus literature, and horror was always sort of seen as the pulp fiction versus the cinematic masterpieces.
Yeah. Well, like a drama, just a good old drama,
So it sort of was it was a groundbreaker.
It was.
For that. And from there, we've got these things. We now know that aliens always travel in air ducts. That's just...
Yep, that's right.
Every movie knows that's true. Every movie we also know that aliens and monsters will grow inside people.
Yeah,
and
creepy.
Become exposed in that way. There's quite a lot that came out of Alien. I think that has been absorbed and reproduced, and that's why it's such a benchmark. Really, I suppose, is that it managed to convince and inspire so many people.
Yeah, again, it's that film that does both. The scare and the fear factor, the cheap thrills and the deeper thrills, but it also has a good enough storyline to take us on that, journey of Ripley's journey. So it does both, really. There's enough going on in both. I love the lobster, but then this. Yeah, does this one go at the top of the ladder then? I'm confused.
Do we have a secondary ladder? Because
do we have a classic ladder or something?
There's going to be other films where we have this. Blade Runner is another one, which the original Blade Runner, of course, which is oddly enough another Ridley Scott film, which also defined the genre of that sort of cyberpunk dystopia extension of our current future. Yeah, from which we've seen so many other movies. I think The Fifth Element borrowed heavily with the flying cars and that sort of city. It threw a bit of a cartoonish light on it all. But nonetheless, Total Recall, likewise, from Blade Runner, you can sort of see the tone similarities. But again, it had the Arnold Schwarzenegger element in there, which sort of threw it away.
It's hard because, again, with this ladder, we're not necessarily ranking these films. It's not like the best 1 to 100 films. We're just kind of saying, well, these are on this particular ladder.
This is our preference.
Yeah, it's just a preference.
We're not going to go and tell other people which ones are the best.
No.
How about?
And if I compare, the thing is, I do think The Lobster was such a good one, but I just think if you put The Lobster next to Alien, then they're very, very different films. They're poles apart, really.
Vastly.
They're both sci-fi, sure.
You could well say that all of the films are quite different. But
they are all different.
It's a different genre. I think you've watched Top Gear, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Top Gear, they've got the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Where they have just the cars they test. And that's sort of what we're replicating.
That's right, yeah.
But they also then have a separate board for supercars.
Okay.
Because they can't compare Subaru WRX versus, say, a McLaren F1. Because the McLaren F1 will wipe the floor with these sort of cars. So they've got one board which is kind of accessible cars, even if some are quite expensive, but they're still accessible. And then they've got the the Aventador and the F1 and the some of those other ridiculous 1,000 horsepower, like the Bugattis and so on. So maybe we should have that as well.
Yeah, maybe we should.
The cinema-defining movie list.
Okay.
And then the mainstream movie list, shall we say?
Yeah, well, maybe, that's right, the groundbreakers, something like that,
because we're going to have others, when we talk about things like The Matrix as well.
Yes, that's right.
And The Terminator, and there's a few of these movies which...
They do shift the whole game.
When somewhere different, and the reason they're still talked about so many years later, or why they've introduced whole genres of film.
So we've got one ladder, and then we just put in another ladder next to it.
Yes, we got it, because it's
have a room full of
It's not
ladders.
right to compare a minor budget independent film versus, and Alien's kind of a minor independent film, but it got taken up.
Yeah. I think it was a very healthy budget for 1979 anyway. So that's the thing. So
smaller than Star Wars.
Smaller than Star Wars, but but again, it was a Hollywood produced film, by Fox, as I said before.
Actually, Star Wars was one of the main reasons they got picked up because the Fox fellow, I can't remember his name is now, producer, he was vice president of Fox, I think, at the time. He actually said that had they come in like the week earlier, before Star Wars numbers had come in, he would have just gone, it's a B movie, we're not interested. But after the numbers came in for Star Wars, he's just like, well, we need...
Do we have any sci-fi?
We need a sci-fi film now.
Yeah.
And on his desk was Alien. It was right there at the right time, and he went, we're making this film.
Yeah.
They even tried to rewrite it and write Dan O'Bannon out. Dan came into he dropped in without an appointment just to sort of say, hey, how's it all going? What's up? And he saw a draft of his script there without his name on the script. It had the two producers' names. And he's like, that's interesting. What have you done? And the guy said, you weren't supposed to see that one. Apparently what they'd done is that they'd written a bunch of stuff in there and changed the names of all the characters.
Right. In
the hope that they could basically get away with them. But they were not science fiction writers. They weren't interested in science fiction. Yeah. And apparently even they went, okay, so our script just won't fly.
Yeah.
We will give you the writing credits.
We'll give you the credit and pay you a couple of dollars. Yeah. So you leave us alone.
Just goes to show that what Hollywood's all about, or at least what it was about. I don't know, it probably still is, but it's...
I think it still is. It sounds like that. I like that idea that the guy's like, the numbers of Star Wars are good. What do we have that science... Alien, there we go. Go for that. I'll put money in that.
It's disappointing because I think from a creative point of view, you're just going to go... I think these things should be about the merit of the inspiration, the creativity, the artistic effort.
But it's not.
But the people who actually have and that's why artists don't have money.
Yeah.
The people who have the money go, you know what it's actually about is selling product.
That's right.
If you're not selling product, your artistic vision gets nowhere.
That's it.
So you got to find that meeting point of the two.
If you scream in a forest and no one's there, does anyone hear it?
But if you make a movie about that where there's a lumberjack who lost his son in a terrible accident and has been scarred, and so now he hunts down anyone who screams in forests.
Yeah.
There's our next film.
There we go. Done. Horror film.
Okay, so let's go best scene, worst scene. I would like... We'll alternate, of course. I've got a couple. What's your best scene?
Well, I kind of probably mentioned them already a little bit, but the bursting out of Kane's chest... I mean, come on.
It's basically the scene that sold the movie.
Yeah, but it's just, it's so brutal because, like they're there and they're happy and he's feeling good and they're eating and he's saying how hungry he is and they're sort of joking and then they're talking about, okay, well now we're going back to Earth, it's 10 months and they're sort of like, the quarantine thing didn't really matter, he's okay. And then just, one scoop of whatever he's eating there, the cereal or the breakfast or whatever it is. And then,
or something.
I don't know what it is. But anyway, he just starts coughing and spluttering and then he's on the table and he's, and he's shaking and they're trying to do the whole, spoon in the mouth thing, but he's too violently aggressive about it all. And then there's like that crack and a blood spurt, and then, they're all a bit
it suddenly
shocked.
settles.
Yeah, it settles.
And then it stops.
Yep.
And
but everyone's
looks around.
freaking out because, he's got a big pool of blood on his chest and then it boom.
Goes again,
and he goes off again and then the alien emerges. It's just like, and they're all freaked out by it, aren't they? And it's like, it's a lovely freaking out because it's like a little baby alien. So it's not a terrifying, the alien adult that we're faced with later in the film,
And that shows up in the way they try to handle it.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, we'll just go around with these little shock prods and we'll just get in a little net and get rid of it. It's
just this little creature. We can get it. They're scared of it. You can see they're scared of it, but
it's more like chasing down a rat or a big spider.
That's right. Yeah. So we'll treat it like that. But that scene.
But the story of how Ridley filmed that one?
No.
No. Dude, the reason the shock is because the actors. The only person who knew how that scene was going to play out was John Hurt, Kane. All the other actors have been told, he's going to start coughing and he'll choke and you've got to try and
help him.
He's going to have a bit of a fit. And so that's what they're doing. They're doing that fit. They didn't know he was wired up with blood spurt.
Yep.
So when he sort of arched his back and there was that initial little splash of blood, everyone went back in shock because they didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
That was a little syringe injection there of blood. Yeah. And then when Lambert gets sprayed with blood, also she was not told. The actress was not told that was going to happen. So there was an initial bit and they all stopped back shocked.
So they're
just about to go, was that what we're meant to do? When he starts thrashing again.
Yeah.
And then there's a big spurt of blood which goes over Lambert's character and she pulls back so revolted and just like, that's because the actress, she didn't know that's someone squirted her with blood by surprise.
Yep.
And that was her genuine reaction of being sprayed with something gross.
And I did read that Ridley kept the alien creature design, the whole thing was hidden, from the other actors, until they had to see it. So they shot the rest of the film. They shot so much of the film before they got to see the creature itself. And I would presume it was probably that scene might have been the first time they sort of had a bit of a view of what it might look like, even though it is just a
phallic alien that shoots out of his chest.
Yeah, but I mean, I remembered watching it today, I jump a little bit, and I'm not a big jumper in films, but I jumped a little bit, even though knowing that's going to happen. I think the sound effects, the fact that this thing has been implanted in him and then comes out of him, there's no way of stopping it, in films and stories, horror things or animals attack. You always feel as a human, maybe you could fight it away, but it's inside him. It's coming out, and it's so violent that it happens so quickly. It goes from feeling really good to feeling really bad. And that sound effect of the chest cracking and stuff, I do remember not so much this time, but previously feeling my chest. It's like you feel your own body a little bit,
It feels pretty bad.
And it's a bit like, if you actually dissect an animal or something, you can, I don't know, I've had that experience of sort of feeling like cutting myself, from dissecting an animal or something, and I remember watching Alien previously and kind of it's like you feel your chest kind of contract a little bit. So I think it's amazing. I reckon that scene is just brilliant. Yeah.
It's a bit like the bear attack scene in The Revenant.
That's
just
a modern
that brutal
equivalent.
Onslaught of there's nothing you can do, and there's a little pause where you think, okay, so that's the worst of it. No, it's not actually. There's the rest coming now.
That is actually a really good comparison, to a modern day version of that.
And it's talked about a lot as well, that bear scene.
Yeah, how horrific that scene is,
It's actually the reason I didn't watch that movie for a long time was because I was like, do I really want to see a movie about a dude who gets totally destroyed by a bear, dragged himself through. I ended up doing it because I love Leo.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's actually quite
it's a great movie. It's a great movie. What about you? What the best scene?
Best scene...
Beyond that one?
Other than that one. We won't talk about that one. We'll talk about
another scene.
There's a scene where they are hunting for the little critter. And it's Ripley and Parker and Brett. And they're walking down, and they go down into the bowels of the ship. It's the first time they've sort of been down into the industrial portions. Previously, they've been in the crew quarters and sort of habitable areas, which we'll talk about the design later because that's really fascinating. But you come down there, and it's just such a beautiful shot where it's a still low angle.
Yep.
And there's sort of this bronze, coppery light filtering through grills, and there's a little bit of mist. and the whole thing just looks like this. It looks like an artwork. You can well imagine that that it was just so beautifully rendered, and there's no computer graphics in that. That's someone actually managed to create that for reals. And they walk into there, they don't seem like they should be in there, because it almost looks like walking to the Pharaoh's tomb.
That's right. Yeah.
Sort of it shouldn't be where people are. And so at one time it looks very beautiful because of the lighting and the shadows and the symmetry of the equipment. And then at the other time, though, it's very industrial, and it has an almost greasy look to it, like it's a place for machinery, not for people.
Yeah.
And the whole scene there where they walk through and they find Jonesy the cat, and we all know that, it's a cat. No, it's not. You're going to die. As soon as you find a cat, you're going to die. This is the way this works. And then Brett walks in. He walks through to the next room by himself, which again we all know means he's going to die. But there's a heartbeat starts. You start to hear, and you realise it's been there the whole time. It's sort of almost a throbbing of the ship because in this industrial zone. But the heartbeat is going, and again it's this beautiful room. There's water trickling down. He takes his hat off and he lifts his head up and lets the water drip on his face, almost like he's in a tropical oasis.
Yeah, a waterfall.
And maybe for a mechanic, it is a bit of an oasis for him. And it's so cool because the camera sort of moves up and around, there's like jingling chains. Yeah. And when you first watch that scene, you don't realise it, but you've got a full reveal of the alien. It is hanging there in its entirety. You can see it. But because it's got this smooth, almost metallic, mechanical look to it anyway, it looks like it's part of all the other machinery around. Yeah. When I watched it the other night, that's when I sort of saw that and went, holy crap, that's the whole alien. Like, you're thinking, in this movie, you watch it the first time and you think, I barely got to see the alien. Like you see the occasional, like, mouth movement or someone gets grabbed or something, in a typical don't get to see it. But so early on, you get the full reveal. But you don't know that it's the full reveal. Yeah. Quite possibly, I don't even remember seeing it there, but I saw it there. It's just dangling off the chain. Yeah. It's just moving in time with all the other chains and things. Yeah. So it just looks like a piece of equipment because there's other bits of equipment around the room. Yeah, that's right. It's only because I know what the alien looks like now. And so that scene, incredible foreshadowing there. Yeah. Not even realising it. Maybe if you were pretty quick on the uptake, when it drops down and grabs Brett and pulls him away, you'd go, oh, hang on, I saw that just before. Yeah. That I think is just a great scene. It builds that tension, you get the heartbeat, and so you know something's going to happen. You know it's not just the cat. And the cat goes, and he said, what? And he's like, what?
It adds a lot of terror to the alien creature, but as well, because, as you said, he comes in and he kind of like, it is an oasis. He lifts his cap. So he's basically looking up at it. Yeah. But it's also looking at him, right? Yeah. So when you think about that sort of scene, this creature is not just so animals quite often attack because they're cornered and stuff. No, this creature hunts, doesn't it? So it adds a lot more horror to that particular creature, that it's dangling there waiting for just the right moment, And it's beautifully shot, that scene with the chains, like they're just the sound, because there's not much other sound. There's the heartbeat.
At the time, we're also sort of thinking it's just that little critter.
Yeah, that's it. So we don't know. Yeah, that's the
size
reveal.
Of a cat to launch out and attack. Yeah, and do something frightening like the facehugger. Something unusual, unexpected. We're not expecting a fully grown alien fellow to...
because the last time we saw it, it's the size of, it's the tiny little penis thing.
A beer bottle. Okay, we'll go penis.
Penis. It's like a penis, yeah.
Dallas, a bit smaller than mine, but...
Dallas in the air vents, which, look, I mean, there's that episode of The Simpsons where they do that exact same joke, where he's up in the air vent and the Santa's little helper's coming up behind him. With the beep, 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 and so many other films. Aliens do it as well, and it's such a iconic horror now idea, isn't it? We know where one person is, and we can see the creature, and it's coming towards you.
It's right on top of you.
It's right on top of you. And then of course we cut to the character, and it's not on top of them, but beep, 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 it's just such a good scene. And I think in a way...
you know what? I was watching Jurassic Park 3 the other night with the kids.
And they probably do it
and the sat phone.
Right, yep.
So the
same
sat
idea.
phone is on this fellow who gets eaten by the dinosaur.
Ah, that's right. Yes,
and every
I
now and then
remember
you
that.
hear the ringing of the phone.
That's it.
And that sort of announces,
That the
almost like the
dinosaurs.
TikTok crocodile from Peter Pan. But
Yeah.
it announces the dinosaur is coming, so it gives you that tension of, oh no, the phone, whose phone is that? Uh-oh. And so, yeah, it's that same thing, isn't it? It's right, it's here somewhere.
Yeah. I felt as well by then, Dallas, the captain, you are on his side. Like, he's showing you a lot of really good things.
Saved the cat.
Yeah, he saved the cat. He's really shown that he is a captain. He volunteers to go in.
I'm doing that.
Yeah, I'm going in. He's very sturdy about that. And I felt by that point in the film, you knew a bit more about him. And even though he was the captain, and maybe at the beginning it felt like he knows a bit more of what's going on. And with that whole sort of argument with Ripley about bringing Kane back on board, you sort of were more on Ripley's side. But by that scene in the vent, you are on his side. And you feel for him, like you really feel for him, I think. So it's a real powerful scene, that one. But it's just, I jumped again when I watched it this time through. It's crazy. You know exactly what's about to happen. He's right there. He's underneath you. He's right there in the dark, right next to you the whole time. And,
so I've got my second favourite scene is in the escape shuttle when Ripley is, she's checking some systems or something or other, and the alien is right in front of her.
I love that
it's
too.
Again, like, it just looks like that big smooth head just looks like some other, like, there's about the number of pipes and things about the place.
He's kind of cool.
And so he's in there, and it's just there. Then it moves, and you go, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, and she freaks out, runs into the cupboard.
And I like the fact that he's not trying to get her anything. It's again, it's very alien. You don't know what the hell is it doing. It's just kind of curled up in there, and it moves a bit. And she goes, "Holy shit!" And she runs off, and she jumps in the cupboard and locks. And then she looks out, and it's still just kind of in there. It's not trying to get it. It's just adjusting itself.
Yeah.
Like,
so
it's
maybe it's asleep.
I don't know. It's hibernating. It's just going, I'm just going to have a bit of a rest.
Yeah. Well, it's killed all those people. It needs a bit of time out. I think. Right. Needs a rest.
Well, actually, in the director's cut, you find it hasn't killed all of them. This was something that it's in the director's cut. It's in the novel. I've read the novel, Alien, and obviously it's carried on in Aliens. But when she sets the self-destruct, I think in the theatrical release, she sets the self-destruct. She goes out through the steam tunnel, and then she basically climbs in and puts Jones, his cage, into the shuttle.
Yep.
And the alien's there. And so then she runs off and runs back to the self-destruct to try and stop the self-destruct. In the director's cut, she sets the self-destruct, she goes down an extra level, and she walks into we don't know where it is, but there's all of this alien growth, Giger-esque growth on the walls and things.
Yeah. And
Dallas and Brett are cocooned on the walls, all covered in growth yuck stuff.
Yeah.
Like in Aliens.
Yes.
They're all up in the walls there. And Dallas is moaning and says, kill me, or some such.
Yeah, right.
And then she flamethrowers them. Which, realise now, I'm looking at Aliens, I'm going, they just copied a couple of these scenes from Alien. They just totally copied. Scene where she's walking through corridors with a flamethrower and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they didn't actually... So the alien cocooned a couple of the people and ate a couple of the people.
Right.
And then she gets back into there, and then she gets into her shuttle, sees the alien, runs back and tries to stop it. Too late. I love the fact that she's too late to stop the shutdown. Then she ends up going back to the shuttle and goes, okay, it must have chased me out and then lost me. And then we find out, in fact, that the alien is there.
Yeah, once it's too late, she's off in this tiny little pod.
I love that scene because we get that, oh my God, the alien's right behind you. It's going to get to you. How is she going to escape?
Yeah.
No, the alien's just kind of still nestled in there doing its own thing. It doesn't seem to care about her all that much.
No.
It's only when she presses those buttons and makes
it was full then.
The steam
from what you've just told me in the director's cut, it's basically like it was full. It was having a rest, I reckon.
It was waiting. It didn't know the ship was going to self-destruct.
No.
It was just fun. Like, no one was going in that shuttle.
That's right.
It was quiet place.
Quiet little place to... Yeah, I love that
there.
myself too. I had that down as the best scene because it's just it's such a good, again you kind of think, oh, she's okay.
I actually wonder how many people left. Like if it was on TV or whatever, there's that scene where she stops.
Oh, that's it. Change the channel.
And she breathes out and she goes, "I got you, you bastard."
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, okay, and that's when credits roll.
Yeah, that's it.
But instead,
there's another twist to it.
I wonder how many. There must be some proportion of people who watched it. And if you're one of those people listening to this, going, "There was more," let us know, because there must be some proportion of people who got to that point and went, yeah, it's bedtime now, and got up and went off to bed thinking the alien got killed in the explosion of the factory. No.
Yeah, so it's a great scene, and then because again, even as a story, that's what I was saying earlier. Like even as a story, it's like, she's okay. Like it's that promise, isn't it? That she's okay, she's made it.
You can finally breathe out.
You can rest. She's okay, because even in your brain, you're like, if that creature's in this little pod, she's fucked. She's in trouble. She's done for. So the fact that then she accidentally discovers it, and I think even when you were just describing there, I hadn't thought of it watching it, but it's kind of like discovering a huge python or something. It's just there, and it would be there. What would you do? If it's all coiled up in your car engine, for example, and you're like, it could strike at you, but it's not. So what the hell do you do? And you've got to kind of deal with it, don't you?
Well, the old huntsman under the the light show, the sunshade. You pull a blind down. There's just this great big huntsman there. You sort of put the blind back up and go. That's right. It's got to stay there.
You can't pull over. Yeah, I don't know, but it's a great scene, isn't it? Yeah. And so with worst scenes, I don't really have any for this film. I can't really think of a worst scene in this film, to be honest. Like, what is bad about Alien?
There is one spot. Ash has had his head knocked off, and they're reconnecting him.
Yep.
And they're pushing this, clearly a silicon rubber head on the ground. It's a terrible cut between pushing that head to the ground and then Ash talking. And I think with the care that was taken of the rest of the film, could they not have cut away to another actor's reaction, like looking a bit frustrated, or maybe a shot over the shoulder so you can't see the head, then shot back on Ash as the human head? But actually
it's a direct cut.
It's a hard cut, and it just... when I saw it, I just went, oh, that was... what the hell was that?
You can see the difference between the two.
Yeah, so that's the only bit in that movie where I think, that's kind of...
It gives it the 99.9%,
yeah,
does it? Sorry.
What was he doing? Like, there must have been some set of circumstances where the editors are sitting there going over that scene, going, okay, we've got... obviously,
is this all we've got? Is this all we've got?
And they're going, we can't put anything else in there. Like, it'll be okay. And I think that the first time you watch it, you probably don't really notice it.
Yeah, I think so. Because there's a lot of tension to that point, isn't there? Like with him trying to get Ripley and then them fighting him, and there's all that white... I seem to remember when I did watch this way back, it's like all that white ooze that comes out of him. Yeah. Like it's pouring out of him. It sprays Parker, and it's spray, like it's really... He's really oozy, Like
well, the really cool thing is my wife hadn't seen this movie.
Right, okay.
Or if she had, it was a long time ago she'd forgotten about it. So when Ash comes out, they have their initial little scuffle. And so Ripley's got a bit of a blood nose, and Ash comes out. It's a little drip of white coming out of his head. Yeah, my wife's sort of going... I can see her frowning.
Yeah, like what is that? Yeah.
And then he just sort of wipes it away. And I could see my wife sort of going, just dismissing it, going, maybe it's something from the machinery or something like that. Who knows what the hell that is? It doesn't seem important. And then he sort of grabs her hair, and she bashes him, and he starts making funny noises, and she's like, what the hell's going on? Is he possessed or something?
Yeah.
And I just, I was going,
it's a good secret, yeah.
Because then, luckily, it didn't go on for too long, because confusion goes on for too long, it ends up being like, this is just silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, she bashed him with a fire extinguisher. I've got a bit of that in an exit plan. I make a surprisingly large number of pop culture references, which maybe you've got to be a bit clever to notice. But there's a character in there. She, on multiple occasions, uses a handy fire extinguisher to bash something in the head to win the day.
Yeah.
And Sigourney Weaver as Ripley bashing Ash in the head, knocking his head off. It was Lambert actually did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Lambert who did it. Bashed him on the head, knocked his head clean free. And then my wife then went, he was a robot. What was he doing? Oh, is this because is this why he was following those orders and hurting people? And I'm like, yeah, she's getting it. It was like a little discovery, like someone's first time. Oh, it's beautiful.
I agree, and I think that hard cut you're talking about, I think when you first watch it, because there has been a fair bit of tension, that maybe it's a bit forgiven, your eyes forgive it a little bit.
I think also in 2019, you're looking at something, it's a 40-year-old movie.
Yeah.
They didn't have CGI, so they couldn't... Because nowadays they wouldn't have had a cut there. They would have just had a CGI head.
Just totally, the whole thing would be CGI now.
Yeah, they would have had his head, real head, CGI'd on top of this thing that they would have had, and, whatever.
So, it would have been his real head the whole time now. That's the thing. So, just CGI, put in, cut and paste, it can float, it can do anything. So, yeah, definitely.
And I have to say, actually, I was looking out to see... Because we'll go and talk about... we'll talk about some of the science that's sort of shown here, but I just want to say that for a 40-year-old movie, the special effects hold up remarkably well.
I think so, yep.
There's a couple long shots of the spaceship outside where it looks a bit modelly, but otherwise totally forgivable.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a couple of shots where the alien is acting where they've clearly used short, sharp cuts.
Yep.
To hide, pardon me, the human-like movement of the alien.
Yeah.
I suppose but I think modern films are often guilty of doing the other way, where they rely on the CG too much.
That's right.
And you end up with something that looks obviously animated.
Yeah.
And then that kind of also does the other direction. But
I think the special effects did hold up quite well, even because they did do a lot of it with the puppetry. And that's the thing with Ash's head again. It's hit and miss whether it holds the test of time, because it sort of does in a way. That particular shot you're talking about, not so much, but like that sort of CGI, it works. I think that he's this synthetic human and they've beaten him up to a pulp and his head's half off the thing. They put there's a lot of attention to detail in those technologies. The spaceship. When they land on the planet as well.
The set designs of the interior of the spaceship, totally believable. I suppose you sort of do spot that it's... I think because the film technology, the actual film stock used, and the filters and the colour grading they used back in the day, you can see the choices in saturation and colour levels and so forth dated.
Yeah.
But the actual set design... and the shot sequences and the action and so forth, I don't think have data.
No,
I think it's totally relevant still.
Yep.
And some of those close-ups of the alien, which one is it? When Parker is picked up, and then we get this close-up of the alien's face, and its jaw opens, and it's just pouring down with that clear fluid, and it's this weird sort of almost metallic-looking teeth.
Yeah.
And that inner mouth shoots out and crashes through his skull or chest or whatever. It's a bit gross, whatever he smashes into. That scene is almost it's a poster just waiting to happen.
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
But I was looking at, in this movie, there's not, surprisingly for a science fiction movie, there's not a lot of science talked about, because most of it is about the tension of the alien. Mm-hmm. But something that is used is, and they talk about it a few times, is the freezing, suspended animation.
Yep.
And it was in Passengers as well. It was a primary sort of plot point. And in this one here, they kept sort of saying that the scene opens with the pod opening and Kane getting up, and you can clearly see he's feeling unpleasant, which seems to be the accepted experience of waking up from suspended animation. If you look at every other movie that's ever done it, they always wake up and they're groggy and they feel gross. And no doubt we're going to need suspended animation to travel. Until we develop the level of technology where some level of instantaneous travel is possible. And even in Alien, they landed on the ship and they came back up, and Lambert said, calculating the fuel used, and they're going off course, and I said, we're going to be 10 months before we get home. And you think, geez, 10 months, that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
To get anywhere in space. It takes weeks to get to the moon. They're talking about 9 months to Mars type of thing. And this action is taking well outside of Earth space.
Well, when they do realise that they're not near in Earth, when they do wake up, they're like, where are we? They're like, we're not anywhere at all near our solar system. They do say that.
But they're surprised. 10 months ago, just 10 months, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But so they obviously do travel very quickly, but even still, it seems to be months is the expected travel time. And clearly it's far more efficient to just shut everyone down and only have them, because most of space travel is incredibly boring.
Yeah.
The 9-month trip to Mars that will probably take, a good 8 months and 3 weeks of that will just be silent, travelling through totally empty space, doing nothing. And then there'll be like a couple of days at the start and a couple of days at the end where they've got to do something.
Yeah.
So there's no point in having all that life support carrying people around for all that time. And they're talking 10 months. I think they're more concerned about the fact that everyone else they know will have travelled on 10 months while they're off sleeping.
Yeah.
Because they themselves will probably not age. So there's a lot of research going into this concept of suspended animation. Not so much for space travel at the moment, although that will be helpful, because if we could actually remove the requirement to have life support for people for that period of time, you want to send someone to Alpha Proxima, which is like the closest stars, 4 light years. It's still, even if you could travel at 10% the speed of light, that's 40 years, roughly speaking.
Yeah.
Time dilation means they're only going to experience 20-something years. But it's still, we're talking years and years of basically sitting in a small room where nothing happens. There's no weather, there's no day-night cycle. The science fiction movies would have you think that there's amazing sights every other day and they're passing stars. They're not. It's just...
a lot of nothing, probably.
It's even more nothing than the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
I've been on a boat in the middle of one of the Great Lakes, Lake Ontario in Canada. It's a lake that's big enough that when you're sailing out there, you cannot see shore. We could not see another ship, a boat, nothing. And it's a perfectly clear, sunny day, perfect visibility to the horizon, relatively flat water, every direction.
Yeah.
And that's just a lake here on Earth. You go out to space where you're talking, it will literally take years to even approach the proximity of anything. And you might as well just be asleep, because there's no point. Your computer systems don't even have to do anything. They'll just be asleep as well.
Yeah.
But more closer to home, I guess we'd use it for surgery or for recovery from injury or just. I always thought it'd be good if you could actually have your 8 hours sleep. Could you imagine if you had 8 hours sleep but you didn't age for those 8 hours?
Yeah.
You'd get back a third of your life.
Yeah.
So you'd live an extra, let's say average 80 years, you'd live an extra 20 or so years.
Yeah.
Just because you weren't aging at night.
Yeah.
So, a lot of research gone into it, and there's a number of different ways that it can be achieved. You can either go into hibernation, which is like bears and squirrels and so on do, which is a natural slowing of your biology. And that lasts, that can last, they do it for months. At a time. They lose a lot of body weight. Humans are not able to do that. We don't have the biological capacity. They've got bears and these little hamsters and things which do it have special types of fat cells and things which allow them to do that. The other way is through lowering body temperature. This is used currently for car crash or high trauma victims where they're at risk of losing a lot of blood. So you drop the body temperature down, all your biological processes slow down. The amount of blood your brain needs, the amount of oxygen your brain needs specifically drops a lot. But you can only do this for short periods. And that's because different chemical reactions in your body slow down at a different rate. So your heart will start slow down its pumping, your blood will deliver oxygen slower, but there are some cells which require more oxygen. We're tuned to operating about 36 or so degrees centigrade, and that's where all of our biological processes come into alignment. So you drop the temperature down to about 10 degrees, a lot of everything slows down. Everything does slow down, but at different rates.
Yeah.
So after time, you'll reach this threshold where some parts of your body start failing because they're running faster than the other parts, which is supposed to be supplying goods to them. So we don't do that for minutes, for 30 minutes, 2 hours, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's freezing, totally freezing. And this would work for years or decades, except for the small fact we can't survive freezing. That's a real shame. Some animals can, which is surprising. But the reason we can't, and I think most people already understand this, is that between 0 and 4 degrees, water expands, unlike just about everything else in the world, which shrinks as it gets colder. 0 to 4 degrees, water actually expands. This is why ice floats on top of water, because it's less dense than water is. Whereas everything else, when it cools down, becomes more dense and will sink. So if you get it expanding and you've got your body's cells are big enough to hold the amount of water they have currently, they're going to have to stretch by some amount, and they'll pop. And that's what happens. You start getting rupturing. It is possible if you freeze something quickly enough so that the transition through that 0 to 4 degree section is fast enough that you get through to the other side, that it will actually freeze solid before it gets to expand, then yes, you can do that, and you can get smooth, vitrified water.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have crystals. It's a very tiny crystal structure. So yeah, you could do that, and that works on individual cell levels. So we can cryogenically freeze sperm and skin cells and so forth. But the problem is the human body is too thick. You can't cool it fast enough to get through the whole mass of your body such that your core will freeze fast enough. And so you end up with crystals forming, which are very sharp, and they cut you up. So all of those people who have had their heads cryogenically frozen, they're dead. They are not coming back. It's not possible under any known science for them to be returned to life.
Oh, come on. Don't ruin the idea Walt Disney might come back one day.
Well, there is a thought, and if some people have been frozen in this fashion, is if you dehydrate and replace with some other, like antifreeze.
Yeah.
And this is what some frogs and other amphibians do. They actually have, they can start concentrating a type of glucose into their bloodstream. So they basically become diabetic. And sugar water freezes more evenly than does normal water. So they will freeze. They basically flood their body with antifreeze by releasing the blood sugars, the sugars out of their muscles into their blood, and they'll freeze. So there is the thought that we could, say, genetically modify people, or in fact replace our blood. Because remember, these people are dead. They had their heads chopped off.
Yeah.
Replace their blood with some sort of antifreeze, then freeze them so they don't suffer the damage.
Right.
But now you've got a head full of some chemical which is not supposed to be there. So when you defrost them, you've got a pickled brain. Yeah, it's not great.
And I mean, in Passengers, I suppose it was implied a bit in Passengers that they came back to life in a way, wasn't it? Because it was almost because they got injected with something, and then their heart started beating, etc. Yeah. So whatever their hypersleep kind of
so that
stage,
sort of
they
seems
were
more like a hibernation style.
Yeah,
because there's some ideas put forward that we could introduce, say, genetic modification to humans to allow for hibernation. Of course,
yeah.
Or if you could come up with some sort of remarkable chemistry that you could introduce into someone's body so that they could hibernate.
Well, like you said, what the bears have, if you could take that and put it in the humans sort of idea.
And talking of bears, you've got these things called tardigrades. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're called water bears.
Okay.
There's tiny little, maybe a millimetre or less in size.
Right.
8-legged little critters.
Yeah.
They, just for everyone at home, do a Google search and you'll see a picture of it. It's mentioned in Star Trek Discovery. In fact, they find a great big tardigrade.
Right.
But they're remarkable in that they can they can survive incredible extremes. A lot of research is going into finding out how it is they manage to do this. And so here's a few things. So temperatures. They can survive 30 years at minus 20 degrees centigrade. Mm-hmm. And they can even survive a few minutes at minus 272 centigrade. That's 1 Kelvin. That's liquid nitrogen, basically. You tip liquid nitrogen on them, leave them in there for a couple of minutes, pull them out, they'll be okay.
Right.
They can survive at 1,200 times atmospheric pressure. The vacuum of space, 6,000 atmospheres. So that's like at 4 kilometres underwater. Not a problem for them. Dehydration, they can dehydrate down. That's right, there was one specimen that was a 120-year-old specimen found in dried moss that they, a bit of water on it and it perked back up and it was around and keeping. These things don't die. It's thought they can survive extinction level events on our planet, which will wipe out everything else. So gamma radiation bursts, solar flares, God knows what else. They'll
these
be
would be the guys that would stay on.
These will still be here. They're talking about like 1,000 times more radiation they can withstand than other animals. They're incredible. So obviously research is looking at these, what other tricks they have.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit difficult, of course, because these things consist of maybe 40 cells. They're tiny, tiny little things. But they are complex enough that they've got a mouth and they've got a bum and they have reproductive organs. So they're not bacteria. They're actual little animals.
Yeah.
They're just quite remarkable.
Yeah, definitely.
Which made me think of the Alien as well. Because in Alien, it survived on LV-492 in this derelict crashed spaceship. These eggs just sat there for a however long, unknown amount of time. We don't know how long it's been there. We get the feeling it's somewhat old. It's not in the past 10 years or something. Mm-hmm. It's it's ancient, and they've survived. And it's like it came alive when it noticed Cain was nearby, because all the eggs didn't open, just one.
No, just one. Yeah.
Quite possibly there's only a few of them that were still viable.
Yeah.
Many of them might have actually died already.
Yeah.
And it jumped out, and the atmosphere was not pleasant for humans. Mm-hmm. And Ash makes a comment that it's rapidly incorporating something or other silicon into its body to make it a tough outer shell, and it's what I think, which made me think of tardigrades there as well. So there's a bit of a link there between hypersleep and tardigrades' ability to hibernate and resist, and these aliens, just really big versions of tardigrades, are able to survive the vacuum of space. Because even at the end, when it's knocked out the airlock, it's still moving around. It's trying to get back on the ship, and it actually finds the thruster opening and sort of curls up in there, like it seems to want to be going to sleep, and it seems to like curling up in little spaces like a cockroach. So it was curling up in there, and I remember seeing that thinking, that's not the right place to hide. That's actually the opposite of the right place to hide. So it was very interesting, and I would like to see suspended animation happen. I quite like, there's a couple science fiction novels which deal with it. There's one, the Night's Dawn trilogy. They have a zero tau field. So their idea, though, is you're not freezing someone, you're not reducing their biological signs. You're actually creating a field that a person sits inside, or anything is inside. And time does not flow inside that bubble. So it actually creates a bubble of zero time. So when someone's in there, they're straight in, there's no freezing. And when it unfreezes, time just resumes for them as if there was no difference in this time. And I have a feeling that's, when you're talking long-term proper suspended animation, that's more the sort of route you're going to have to go. We're going to have to come up with a way, we're going to have to have a black hole generator and use it to, which I could talk about that as well, black hole generation. It's fantastic, this idea of having an industry based on black hole energy. And once you create 3 or 4 black holes, it becomes a self-sustaining industry of being able to create new black holes easily.
Anyway. Yeah, that's it.
And using them to power everything else. And so you have a whole economy. But anyway, once you're at that sort of level, you can start looking at bending space-time. We talked about wormholes before, which requires huge amounts of energy and gravity and so forth.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you could actually, maybe bend space-time around a person so that they don't experience time.
Yeah, well, that would be a totally different way of doing it, wouldn't it? Traveling.
That would be it. You wouldn't mind. I was just 300-year voyage. So it's pretty much one way because all your friends at home are gone and everything. That's right. But as far as you're concerned, you just get on board the spaceship and then you get off at your destination.
I think that's why in my mind I think about that idea of you would maybe die. Do you know what I mean? Like you would literally hob into the suspended animation and they kind of kill you in a way.
Yeah.
And then you're dead and then you're frozen kind of from that point of view, So and then them bringing you back. So just the technology to be able to bring humans back to life, I suppose. That idea.
It is basically what they're doing it, because if
instead of just slowing you right down to a point, but an actual you're dead.
Because if all brain function ceases, which you would have to, so you don't suffer neurological damage, everything would have to stop reacting.
Yes.
All your chemical reactions would have to stop.
But then they have to be able to be brought back.
But what are we if not an ongoing chemical reaction? If our chemical reaction, that is us, stops, that's called being dead.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of dying and being resurrected.
Like you said with the people that have been cryogenically frozen their heads, I mean, the brain, it's just, you turn the brain off, it's hard to bring it back, isn't it?
Who knows what's coming back?
Yeah.
Almost, but it's a movie about that called Reanimator.
Yeah.
Where you bring people's brains back and they're not quite right.
That's it. Well, that's some interesting science anyway. Yeah, and the alien is, he's a science project, isn't he, really? Yeah,
you've got to think, try and imagine what circumstances would lead to the evolution of such an incredible creature.
And Ash does say, he sort of marvels at him a bit, doesn't he? And because that whole thing about the blood, the acid blood,
Well, it's funny because it's just, I think it's Parker who says, maybe it's got acid for blood.
Yeah.
Perfect defense mechanism, but I personally don't think it does have acid for blood. I think it's more like a bombardier beetle or one of these other things. You heard of a bombardier beetle has got a couple of glands on its back.
Yeah.
and it squirts these mixtures together, which causes a very fast exothermic reaction, a very hot reaction, like mixing a hydrogen peroxide with bleach or something.
Yeah.
And squirts that out at things. And it's like, it's 120 degrees centigrade. It's a more than boiling temperature, and it squirts, and for an insect, squirt that on an insect, and the insect is not going to be happy.
Yep.
So my personal opinion is, because it's never actually been demonstrated that it has a circulatory system of concentrated acid.
Yeah.
It's just that when it's cut, it squirts acid, and in the sequels, when it's injured, acid is squirted.
Yeah.
I like to think that it's probably more likely to be a relatively inert substance in the alien's body, because if it would dissolve, wouldn't it? Like, how do these aliens survive if they're filled with an acid capable of eating through everything?
Yeah.
It's just, the strength of that acid is not something that you could easily counteract.
No.
But if it wasn't acid until the skin was cut, say they've got a couple of layers.
What if it's just a layer underneath?
They've got a couple of layers of membrane.
Yeah.
And so when you pierce, if you were to pierce just the first layer, you get a relatively unreactive.
Yeah.
That second one, though, the two mix, you've got your acid.
Yeah.
And then if you get through beyond that, you're actually into the real creature itself.
Yeah.
That way, So when you cut it, it squirts an acid out, which, yes, incredible defense mechanism. But I would suspect it's blood, because it would dissolve. The alien would dissolve. But there is evidence in our own nature of creatures able to mix chemical reactions, which causes problems. Stink bugs also do that.
Yeah.
They don't naturally stink, but if you crush the right parts of them, they...
Yeah, and I do know, I think there is some, animals in the ocean that, like jellyfish and that they don't, they don't have blood at all, you know what I mean? But they're an organism, so they're swimming around, and then there's fish there's certain fish that the sting doesn't affect that fish, but every other fish would get stung.
Clownfish, Finding Nemo.
Well, that's right. That one's a good example. But there is, and then that fish tends to eat something that the jellyfish then eats its leftovers. Yeah. So it's kind of like, they've got that happy harmony going on.
Yeah, would you? It'd be interesting to see if this alien lived in symbiosis with something else.
That's right.
Couldn't imagine. It seems to be pretty self-sufficient.
I think so. Yeah.
I heard, actually, I was listening to a entomologist talking about, on another podcast, Bad Science, they were talking about alien, and they're saying the problem is that the alien creature has this unnecessary part of its life cycle, the face hugger.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about, say, a parasitic wasp, it will lay its eggs directly into something. A larvae will hatch out, eat that something, and then grow into a wasp. So there's egg, larva, then wasp. But the alien has, alien, egg, face hugger, alien. So there's this extra step. Mm-hmm. And he says, that wouldn't happen, but I have to disagree. And, I'm putting on my own evolutionary biologist hat here because I'm some sort of an expert. But as a science fiction enthusiast, let me posit this idea that the egg is a necessary part of the alien biology, because it is clearly highly resistant to adverse conditions. So that derelict spaceship only had eggs on it. I suspect if they searched, they'd find dead aliens. Yeah. Old age, hunger, whatever. Suicide, maybe even. Perhaps they conserve their species, they just kill themselves to not use up resources. Yeah. Whatever the case is, but the eggs, on the other hand, can obviously sit in stasis for a very long time, dormant. The face hugger, then, is sort of an extension of the egg, a mobile egg, if you will.
Well, it is, isn't it?
So the outer casing of the egg reveals the inner part of the egg, which then is able to run around and find a host. And the reason it finds a host is because the alien itself is parasitic. It goes into, say, in this case, poor old Cain, and absorbs some part of his DNA, for example. Mm-hmm. And so the alien that bursts out of Cain now has some sort of adaptive traits from humans. Yeah. Because obviously it's in a human environment. That's right. So it's going to need to be able to breathe our human atmosphere, eat our human food, for example. Yeah. Or eat us as food. So that face hugger hugging on there, implanting, is the process of taking on traits of the host so it can survive. Yeah. Which means that this parasite, because most parasites are species specific, the sort of worms that infect dog, for the most part, don't infect humans. Yes. Fish parasites don't infect birds.
That's right, yep.
And so the chances of this alien being able to infect humans, like lay an egg directly into a human and have it hatch out an alien, is remote. But if this face hugger was kind of like a little biological factory in itself, so the reason it finds a host is because it says, I've been woken up by something, and whatever has woken me up must be able to survive in the environment that I'm in.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take its capabilities, become somewhat like it. So an alien that bursts out of a human chest would be different from an alien that bursts out of a Martian's chest or a cat's chest or something. Yeah. It would have these different traits, which on the assumption would be good for surviving in the environment that this host is found in.
Yeah.
So I would think that this alien species clearly isn't happy. It doesn't just sit on one planet; it travels.
Yeah.
And
I think that's what they're trying to do is kind of take over the universe in a way, aren't they? Like
and if you're going to travel from planet to planet to environment to environment, you need some way of adjusting very fast. In one generation, you have to change from high methane, high carbon dioxide, low oxygen environment to a high oxygen, high nitrogen environment.
Yep.
You've got to change in one generation. You have to breed out that way.
Yes, definitely.
So you can imagine, the alien would come across. Maybe the aliens that crashed on that first ship were adapted to that, but it got a hull breach. They couldn't survive in the LV-492 atmosphere, so they did their best
perished.
they could, and they died. But their eggs sit there in their casings, they're strong.
That's right.
Until something new that could survive in that environment came along, and it was humans.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just that it's the DNA continues, doesn't it? Anyway, that round of aliens died out because of the harshness of the planet, but they know that the eggs survive to another day.
Yeah, so
and that could be 10 years or it could be 100 years or whatever, thousands of years, but then the species comes back alive again. Yeah.
Although the reality is they just want to have something horrific in the middle.
Yeah.
Horrific plot point, but we can rationalise it in evolutionary terms or in biological terms in various ways, and I like to do that.
I didn't think it was unnecessary. I thought it was great. So some of the technicalities that we've got going on. Well, we haven't gone through a detailed plot, but we have talked a lot about. You did your 2-sentence plot.
Yeah, I think that's the basic plot.
I think the basics are there. We do refer back to, it's the monster in the house from the Blake Schneider sort of save the cat sort of example. And it's a good, as you said, save the cat. He saves the cat. And so does Ripley, doesn't she? She saves the cat. I was thinking when I was watching it this time, like, just leave the bloody cat. Run.
Well, that's in the sequel. In Aliens, and this time, you little shithead, you're staying here.
There's that great scene, isn't there, where the alien then looks at the cat.
Yeah, and taps on the glass.
But then when she comes back, the cat's still there, isn't it?
Well, he knocks it aside. At the very, he sort of taps and looks at it and then...
No, I don't need to.
Knocks it. He says, what is that?
You're not really my thing. So great genre. We've talked a bit about that crossing over. The set, how good is the set in this film? It's just amazing. So claustrophobic for the characters. Ridley Scott said he wanted to make it as claustrophobic. The actors apparently did give feedback that they were not that impressed with how small the set was. And he was saying, well, the whole point is I'm trying to make it claustrophobic for you so that you're fearful a bit, you're scared. And this has spawned this idea of people being in a maze, in a house that they're locked into, and there is some sort of creature, monster there.
What I loved about the set here is there's three separate areas. So there's when they first wake up and they come out to the dining area, it's white.
Yep.
It's
bright.
Yep. It's smooth finishings. It's almost passengers like.
Yeah, it is like that, isn't it?
I wouldn't call it luxury by any stretch, but it's clearly maybe like a nice caravan.
Mm-hmm.
It's all white and bright. It's a little bit open, but then just through one of the doors, it then goes into that second part of the scene sets, which is the grills and pipes.
Yep.
And it's sort of, because they're hauling a factory.
Yeah.
And then the third part is when they're in the depths of the factory and this big cavernous rooms, but filled with weird equipment.
That's right.
And it almost looks like there's like a little buggy in one of them. And there's another one that almost looks like a helicopter-y type thing. And there's sort of weird, you can't imagine what purpose. Why is there like this? It looks like a helicopter, it's got a dragonfly type of look to it, like a cockpit. And that's where they're pulling, Lambert and Parker pulling the coolant and oxygen tanks out of there. And you look at it, and it looks broken. It doesn't look like it's a complete thing.
That's right.
So you're going, why is that? Like, is that part of the mining operation? Like that?
Yeah.
You can imagine they have this thing they're tugging, this factory, must sit around an asteroid, for example, and gets full up, and they must use these things, and they're just kind of... it's such a huge place that it's like an old garden shed, where you dig through it and you find like the old lawnmower that you never bothered fixing.
That's right.
And it's such a big place that there's just these rooms full of it. So there's three distinct areas. There's the nice, happy area, where we get the chestburster scene. And then we have the claustrophobic tunnels of the pipes, where Ripley's rushing through with steam shooting everywhere and carrying on. And then there's these big cavernous, weird rooms where the alien sort of hunts them.
But I thought that I quite liked that the ship was like that with the pipes and stuff. It felt really like the cables. It was all very. It was a working ship, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't
in Passengers, we have that cruise liner thing. This is working ships. You got all the pipes are all exposed, the vents, as you say. There's smoke coming out and hot air and stuff like that and different things. It felt like this is what people get treated in the workplace like. That's the thing. It's not a cruise ship.
It's an oil refinery. It's a mineral refinery. And it looks like that.
It does look like that. They did really well on that. And as one of the set designers, I don't know his name, but, coming out of Britain, war-torn Britain, and, the industrial sort of revolution coming to an end and unemployment and factories closing. And apparently he had a pretty big say on how that looked. Like that was his look to it, was all those pipes and things not quite working 100% well all the time.
Duct tape holding stuff together.
Yeah. So, but that was great. The set was great. The mother room as well. That the captain has all the lights.
What's that all
very
about?
Dimensional.
What do all those flashing lights, blinking lights mean exactly?
All those blinking, and even the bridge itself was kind of, it was a bit claustrophobic, wasn't it? And it was weird that there was a bit of a wind in that. Did because in the opening shots, like the papers flap, and then later when she does self-destruct, she puts the self-destruction on, again at the wind, there's like there's some wind there or something, like it's, I don't know, the dimension of that place. I did think in this, like you could look at it now and the computer screens being like, well, it's 1970s DOS mode and
the noises,
but I reckon again, because it's a working ship, you can kind of forgive that a little bit, even though now it's 2019,
How many bank tellers? I've gone to a bank, and you can sort of see the screens they're using.
And they're still using the old platform.
Ancient. Some of them, sometimes that little window will come and we'll see with the black and green.
Yep.
And other times it'll be like clearly Windows 95 or 311. Like it's just
even
ancient.
ATMs can be like that, can't they? Some ATMs they've modernised, but some ATMs are like, this is the same ATM that was around 40 years ago. Like it's not changed. I think it does. I forgive a little bit of that because of it's a working ship, again, Passengers, for clients, for customers, you have to have all that modern interface. Yeah. But the fact that this is just miners, working on a ship, there's only a very small crew for such a huge operation.
They're using technology that's proven to work.
It works. Who cares? It's the older technology. So who really cares about that? We said the strobe lighting. Be careful of the epileptic.
I know. Well, my wife even made that comment in the shuttle scene, because we could understand it when the self-destruct's on. There's like lots of flashing going on. And she's in the shuttle afterwards, flown out, and my wife's going, "What is strobing? Why do they have strobing lights in there?"
Yeah. There is some strobing that seems a bit unrealistic in that scene with Ripley and the aliens just next to it.
Yeah.
And she sees it, and that's when she's trying, and then she runs back to stop the self-destruction, right? That's great. Like, it's a really good effect of the strobe, because she's like, she's against the wall and stuff. But there is a couple of moments where you think strobe lights, you're like, that was really impractical to put a strobe light in there. Like, aren't these people working in this zone? Like, it's not very OH&S people. I do remember back watching this on VHS, because again, that was my first watching, and especially when they go in at the start to the planet and the fossilized alien and all the eggs, it's so dark on a VHS copy. Even though that's all I knew at the time, is I remembered really going, I can't really see what's going on here, and thinking that was the effect. Whereas then later on, watching them, in high quality DVD and what I watched the other day, you see actually quite a bit, but. Use of shadows really well, very clever. There's black parts of this film that, again, as a horror technique, you can't see what's behind the darkness, and because the alien is all shiny and black, he could just be there.
Yeah,
like with Dallas,
that's
that
the thing,
just there.
When you finally see it in the shuttle at the end, and she's checking something or other, and there's just that it just looks like a pipe until it moves, and you go, oh my god, that's not a pipe.
It. Yeah. And it's saying like Dallas, when he's in the vents and he's got the fire, and he lights up the vents a little bit, and we know it's close by from the beeping again, but there's just, there's a black wall to his left, and that's where it is, and then he turns and we see it. So, that lighting, the use of lacquer lighting, shadows. Camera, you said a really beautiful one, when they walked into that open shot, and it was kind of looking up and we saw the grills and stuff, and there's a lot of that throughout the film. That's what I found.
I like that just as a picture on the wall. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I felt like with the camera, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of those shots that Ridley Scott must have just decided to do a lot of those kind of, to really take in the set, I guess. They'd made so much effort on the set. They're like, well, we've got to shoot it. But it's, you're sort of, you're there on that ship, I feel, and there's lots of wide shots where we see those grills, and they do hold them for a little while. And, they're quite beautiful, really. Yeah, I like them. And like you said, I think with the Alien, probably for the time, we get a lot of super close-ups of the mouth, that gruesome mouth, the drooling, and it's all
I don't know the
saliva
version that you looked at, but it was just such a beautiful lighting effect of the shine, and like I said, dark patches, and it's a really just beautiful shot of this alien face. And I think if you do a Google search, image search for
you would get those shots,
alien face, you get that scene in there where you just sort of see it, and its mouth opens,
it kind of growls, and
it's beautiful.
But I mean, and even at the end, again with Ripley, she's in the pod and she's got the space suit on, and it is coming out, because she's steamed it or whatever she's done to it. It kind of comes out squealing, and she doesn't look at it. And they've done that a couple of times in the Alien, and also then in Aliens and other Alien movies, where we're seeing the actor and the presence of the creature is very close, and it's kind of a bit out of focus. It's right behind them, and we're seeing it, and then we might get a clear shot of that mouth thing again. But so I think again in this era, they showed us those little bits of the alien without showing us the whole thing, except for what you said, the hidden alien, and he's hidden a couple of times in the film. But they do again. They just show us little glimpses of the alien, and it's not all intensive, and it's nice. It's, you don't want to see everything all the time.
And I think James Cameron does that well in Aliens. As when they're first walking into the under the reactors, there's all of that sort of weird growth, or the alien hive geometry that seems to go around. You realise, because you've probably seen the first one, you're probably looking at a number of these things, and sure enough, they start saying they're coming out of the walls. And there's a couple of bits there where there's just, it looks like a part of the architecture until it moves and uncoils, and you go, holy shit.
That's right. So they do that really well, and it's very clever. Sound was great, beautiful, very epic to the story, scary. We had nice strings being used, and to build the tension. And as you said, the motive of the heartbeat going on.
And it was very popular in the 70s and early 80s to have those strings, and sometimes it can be a little bit much. There were a couple of intense bits there, but they made the alien squeal in that same high-pitched thing. So you'd hear that as it's coming out, and then the strings are in there hitting with some orchestral crashes, and then it blends in well.
It definitely does. But it was good. It was good sound. I liked it, and the heartbeat going, over and over. So that's great. And I mean, the alien itself, and the popping out of the chest. It's puppetry. It's before CGI. I've seen a lot of these old horror movies from the 70s and stuff. And I mean, personally, I love a lot of that. Like, it's great to have that puppetry, like a real creature effects. We talk about Jim Henson with all those puppets, the Muppets, obviously, but he also did a lot of puppets. You talk about the Labyrinth and stuff like that. Like, those films, sometimes there's a bit more magic in them because of
Jurassic Park did it really well. They combined animatronics with the CGI, so sometimes the raptor heads and things
were real, and then others,
sometimes
and that was the birth. Like that's a whole nother episode, really, to talk about the birth of CGI and Spielberg and stuff. But yeah, the first Jurassic Park mixed it well together. This film, obviously, way before CGI. So they have to rely on that puppetry, and even with the spaceships and that, they had to build those things.
Yeah.
And it's like Star Wars. They had to build those sets. They have to in-kit them all out, and sometimes for me, if you can feel that, it feels more real. And I think for actors, it works as well because they're sort of there. Yeah. So that's pretty much the breakdown of the technical sort of side of things. Did you have anything on that?
I was going to say it's great. Yeah, great use of lighting.
Yep.
That's really noticeable in this film. There's the use of the lighting in the chest bursting scene. I think there must have been a lot of thought and orchestration in this scene because they did it. All the other sort of horror scenes in there, where there's like a Dallas in the air vents or the egg hatch or whatever else, is happening in sort of murky, dimly lit. The chest burster scene is white, like it's overwhelmingly white. Like you really notice it. And so when they're in there, all we're going to get our full bonuses. Yeah, this is great. We're going to all go home, and it's bright and white and smooth finishings, and it's all happy. It all looks nice.
Yes.
And then the blood sprays. That's still so brightly lit, and the fact that you see the little stick puppet stick up, and squeal and look around a bit in that brightly lit environment. It was that in itself is such a contrast to every other part of the film, which is strobe lights and smoky gas shooting out everywhere and grills cutting off orange
shadows
lights
and darks
and things.
But
then they have this one scene where they're all in the brightly lit, and I think there's other horror movies do the same thing where they'll have so many of the stalking scenes and all that, but then they'll have brightly lit safe space where everyone's all together in a big group because nothing happens when they're in a big group.
That's right.
It's always when someone goes by themselves, but then you'll have something horrible happen.
Yeah,
because they're toying with your emotions. You're feeling relaxed, and you're feeling like they're in a group, and being herd animals that we are, we'll go there's safety in numbers.
Yeah, definitely.
And there is, because let's face it, only Kane died and others survived that one.
They did. I think that can lead into the one thing I do want to talk about this film, and there's a lot of this online, which is the idea that there's a big hidden message in this film of sort of sexual aggression or the primal human sex sort of side of things. And I think you talking about that scene, it's all white and virginal. And really what happens to him is he lies down and basically gives birth to the alien.
Yeah.
Which, if you think about I know you've been in the hospital suite. I've been in the hospital suite with my wife. They are those sort of that traditional birthing suite at a hospital, all white. Everyone's standing around the mother as she's giving birth. She's lying down. Kane's lying down on the table, writhing and screaming. There's blood spraying on people. Well, this is what happens in a birthing suite, and it's a kind of a bit clinical, and they're all in shock. I remember when babies, when my wife gave birth, it's all a bit like, oh my God, like in that moment that birthing is happening, it's quite alien.
Yeah, it is. And
I think maybe
even the little baby itself doesn't look like a human yet.
It's not, because it's a bit squished as well.
Weird monkey thing,
and there's all that blood and stuff that happens, and the placenta and things like that. So maybe I could interpret that maybe that scene, that place is deliberately white, a bit like a hospital where women give birth, in that kind of more clinical environment. And definitely, that puppet that bursts out, the baby alien, as we said, it's like a penis. I mean, it very much looks like a penis.
I haven't heard any by official, I haven't heard like Ridley Scott or Dan O'Bannon talking about that.
No.
But there is so much of that with the... I did sort of hear Dan and his co-writer there trying to come up with how they're going to get the alien on board the ship.
Yep.
His co-writer woke up from a dream one night, got in contact with Dan and said, the facehugger, the alien... How about one of the crew members gets screwed by the alien? And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, okay, well, they find the egg.
Yep.
They don't take the egg on board.
Yep.
This thing jumps out and basically grabs hold of his face. And it was a G-rated documentary, but I think he wanted to sort of say face sexual intercourses.
Yeah. Well,
mouth rapes him.
Yeah.
Basically.
And the thing is, like, when you do look at it, like, Well, that's the case. Like it's you know, it's shoving its organ down the throat of Cain, impregnating him that way.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's sitting on his face like as well. So there is a sexual kind of connotation
and
going on.
And when they're dissecting their face, I go, that dissected face looks very vaginal.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's the thing. Like they do say that when you look at it, it's like a vagina. You know, like in looking at it. And we do see through the X-ray machine that, you know, the thing is right down its throat. Like we get an X-ray vision of the thing down its throat. But also the company or the ship is called Mother, you know, so, and they talk to Mother, you know, Mother has all the answers and they go to Mother. And even at the end when Ripley is self-destructing, she says, come on, Mother, like, stop this, you know, like stop this now. Like we scream out to, like a child would scream to Mother. So, yeah, we do have the sexual attacks like the face on Cain. Also, Lambert gets the privilege of the alien's tail coming up anally.
That's very suggestive,
you know, like it goes through her legs and it actually comes up in the version I saw, which is just the theatrical version. It comes up behind her ass basically, and then that's when it's cut.
It cuts away, and you hear a weird cry out.
You do. So you sort of think, has it gone up? You know, has it anally raped her? So we sort of have a bit of raping going on there. And I said, like, when it breaks her, it's like birth.
But that's adding into the whole body horror part of this.
That's right.
Which is used a lot in, say, Seven and Saw. When those movies have come out, there's this return to the body horror.
That's right.
And certainly if you
Human
go back
Centipede.
Human Centipede. The same sort of, there's a horror of sort of being hunted and being endangered, but then there's this other horror of your body betraying you.
Yeah.
Of your body being altered or destroyed or being broken without your permission.
Yeah.
And some movies have done that very well. The original Saw was very gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
And Seven, likewise, you had this terrible stomach churning feeling of
and I did and that's what I did mention before, like with that chest, the thing gets stuck to your face. It's a creepy face hugger, you know, it's a creepy spider crab looking creature, isn't it? And you know, it obviously got something right down your throat, and you know, but then it bursting out of your chest, you know, it's a total invasion of your body, isn't it, in that way? If you do think, which we talked about, the adult alien, I mean, people have said about this, that extra organ comes out of its mouth.
Yeah, its little mouth.
You know, it's like a penis again, you know, like it's exposing itself and it's like, ha-ha, and it comes out, protrudes. And I really thought when I watched it this time, thinking a bit about this metaphor going on, like it is gooey and it's slimy and it's got lots going on, again, like a penis. So I think that's that's sort of, again, if you're thinking about the sexual side of that.
I don't know how much I do know that the artist Giger, who did a lot of his artwork, is that sort of alien sex technology mix.
Yeah.
Which is actually quite striking, dramatic, horrific. The Fox studio, when seeing this, was of the opinion, well, I think that might be too horrible. I know you're making a bit of a horror movie here, but that could actually be too repulsive. Yeah. Everyone else, the writers and Ridley go, no, this is great, this is great.
Well, because like I said earlier, I think it's quite subtle, and good movies, that's the thing, they will have a bit of this subtext going on. You know, we call it, you know, it is like a subtext. It's a whole nother film within the film, you know, really. And I was going to say that really, another really violent sexual scene is Ash and Ripley having their fight. And when that kind of gets to the climax, he's got her down and he rolls up a porno magazine and then he's stuffing it into her mouth. And the thing is, he's a robot who can't have sex. You know what I mean? So it's like an impotent man. What would an impotent killer? And in this case, he's killing her. It's like almost like he can't have sex with a woman. So here you go. Here's the next best thing. I'm going to shove this porno magazine down your throat. And when I was watching that this time, I was like, geez, that is really quite, you know, it is a pretty sexually aggressive scene to do to I don't know if you would be able to do that in a film these days in a Hollywood. I don't know if Hollywood would accept that.
You'd get an R rating for sure.
Well, yeah. So I think that's Hollywood would probably stay away. And then the last one was, again, when she flees in the pod, it was interesting. It says on the screen to do it, the self-destruct, it actually says, no, sorry, not the self-destruct, to get rid of the pod, it says purge.
Yeah, purge.
So it's like purging away from, the mothership. You got to purge yourself. You got to get free. So I don't know. I noticed a lot, Surrey, that seems to have that sexual, aggressive, or maybe the alien representing male aggression in the sexual sort of way. Maybe a bit of a message on that. Yeah,
could be.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, mind you, that is a hallmark of a good artwork, though, is the ability to find new relevance as the ages turn and pass.
That's right.
Because there's a lot of evidence. There's a lot of people looking at scrutiny on movies and female roles in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So this is back in '79. Sigourney Weaver, she's totally the hero of that.
Yeah, definitely.
She does all the right things.
Yep.
She's not being rescued by anyone. She's not overly macho herself.
No.
Which always annoys me when they do the exact opposite, where they get oh no, she's a badass biker chick who cuts people up with her ninja swords, and she's so
That's
cool.
right, yeah.
So what?
No,
she's a man.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's right.
Yeah,
because she freaks out a couple of times in this movie, which is perfectly natural. You know what I mean? Like she's tough and she makes tough decisions, and she fights for herself.
Over toughen her.
Yeah, she's not a male playing. Sorry, she's not a male character. She's still very feminine. But it's a very powerful.
But she does the right things.
Yeah, she does do the right things.
She gets the alien and she saves the cat.
So the cat. Yeah. So she's still motherly, I suppose. Yeah. But the others also try to help and save the cat.
Yeah.
Everyone tries to save the cat.
But if we're talking about newfound relevance,
yes,
is that this is from the 70s? We're going to get these men's rights people who are poo-pooing Star Wars, where there's Rey is the lead character. They're just chucking a woman in there because no, people have been using female lead characters for a long time. And in fact, I don't doubt that all these people who've been pooh-pooing the Ghostbusters and all the rest of it probably love Aliens.
They probably do.
Probably think it's a great movie. You know what? Hero's a woman.
Yep, deal with it.
Yeah, so
because good on Ridley Scott for doing it. I mean, he casted a really unknown Sigourney Weaver from theatre, threw her in the limelight, and she could handle it.
I was watching
she smashes it.
Watching the making of, and they're talking about that. They're saying that they wrote all the characters. They didn't specify any genders for any of the characters, but in their minds, they said they wrote them all as men.
Yep.
And when they were pitching it to the studio, they said, it would be possible to have anywhere up to 2 of the characters being women if you want to have a broader appeal.
Yep.
And so they weren't thinking of any sort of equal rights or any political thing. They were looking at a marketing thing, going, well, we might have to have a woman in there somewhere to appeal to a market. And who was it? One of the producer, he got the screenshots, the casting footage of Ripley up, and brought in a bunch of women from the Fox studios to watch it and got their opinion. And they all said, she's really cool. She looks good doing the role. She seems to be acting well. Yeah, I really like her. Yeah. And that was his attempt to go, okay, well, yes, it works with a female demographic. Stamp. Yeah. Yeah, so I don't think there was any, at the time, particular desire to promote equal rights of any sort. They were looking to get a bigger market share. Yeah. And that meant allowing some women in there. But when they were casting for Ripley, Sigourney Weaver's, she turned up late. She went to the wrong hotel, apparently. So they were going,
where is she?
Where this person, we thought she was going to be here, that would be good. And when she walked in, they went, no, that's Ripley. Because they weren't sure. They'd actually been casting the woman who did Veronica Cartwright. Lambert actually did all of her casting tests with Ripley's lines. Right. So when she was told she's got the job, she thought she was Ripley. And so, but she went into wardrobe, and they started figuring out with, suit with Lambert patch on it. And she's Lambert. No, I'm Ripley. No, they told me you're Lambert. She's kind of called back her agent. I'm Ripley, right? And the agent says, that's all they've got you to test for, right? And she says, yeah. Okay. And sure enough, no, you're Lambert. You're not. And I think she absolutely killed that role. She got that really, really good mix of going from kind of let's be sensible and take some sort of action to being totally freaked out and completely incapable of thought, back to let's follow this plan, let's do it, and you really, really had a very strong sense of a real person. That was great. Yeah.
And I mean, I think where it gets up to where she does die in that scene where they're getting all those those gas things.
Yeah,
whatever
and
it is.
Paul Parker's got the flamethrower
Yeah.
and can't shoot the creature, even though he's got a clear shot, because she's right there as well and would burn her to death.
But I was just going to say, she's like, this is the plan to survive, but she's sort of like trembling that whole time, you know, like we're good, you know, it's like, do this and we've got to get out of here. And I think she does that really well. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I've got to say about Alien, I think, overall.
Already my wife has said, we finished watching that. She said, okay, well, you know we have to watch the next one now. I said, yes, we are going to have to watch it. That's Aliens, the sequel, is probably going to be one of my most watched movies of all time. There's a couple of that one, Princess Bride and Super Troopers, oddly enough. They're probably going to be some of my most watched.
You might have to
movies.
censor that out of this podcast. This is a sci-fi.
Sci-fi, yes. Yeah. Well, Super Troopers is kind of sci-fi, isn't it? No.
But to me, it's just, this film is, as I said, for me as a creative person, it's a benchmark. That's what I've really realised. I probably already knew that, but I've just, in watching it this time, this is what I'm putting into it. It does.
So well demonstrates so many good points. Like there's other ways of making great films.
Yeah.
But this one has there's a couple of really good points here in use of dialogue, in use of sparsity of story, I suppose, like, or let's say
what to tell the audience and what not to.
Conciseness of story. You know, like it's to the point. There's enough there that you feel you're involved in something big, but it doesn't go off into more than it needs to. It's really good from that point of view. I do very much love this film.
So make sure you do check it out, and it'd be lovely to hear some feedback about your own experience of Alien. When did you watch it? You know, what did you think about it?
Are you into ovipositors?
That's right.
It's possible.
Did you think that this film is very sexual at the end of the day when it sort of doesn't impose that on us? It'd be great to hear your thoughts on our social media channels.
At SpaceBrainsPod on Twitter.
Yep, and SpaceBrains Podcast on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, yeah. SpaceBrains or Gravity Undone on Facebook.
Yep.
And Mark, do you have you just started a film page. I just liked it.
Yeah, I've had it for a little while, just doing a bit of the photography stuff. So that's just the Mark Regan. Yeah, it's just Mark Regan. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I think it goes by Mark Regan Creates.
Mark Regan Creates.
Yeah.
Well, there's your hot tip. There you go. That's the next surprise coming out of science fiction.
Yeah, that's right.
Mark Regan. Okay.
So our next episode, it's one of your films.
Next episode, yes, it's one of my favourite all-time films. It's called Other Life.
That's right.
That's all I know about this film. I assume it must be science fiction because when I picked it, it was from a list of science fiction movies.
Yep, and we did try to pick some different ones. This one's from you. It's available on Netflix. So
Netflix. All our films so far have been available on Netflix.
Yeah.
Alien hasn't?
No, the Alien was not on Netflix.
But you can find a source for Alien. Jeez.
I think everyone probably has the DVD, don't they? Or the VHS. I'm sure you've got a VHS lying
They've
around.
got their 40th anniversary coming out just now. So.
And I suppose just on that, wanted to say, check out the short films that they're releasing.
I saw Containment and Specimen.
Yep, I've seen the Containment one. So
Specimen's really... Okay, well, I won't spoil Specimen for you. No. But it has a really nice... Having watched Alien, and I guess Aliens, but having watched Alien in particular, you watch Specimen, and it has like a really nice, a bit of a twist on the end. Yeah. Which kind of relates back to some of the mythology in the Alien film. It's quite good.
Well, I liked Containment. I enjoyed that. I thought, hey, this is great to kind of have it back around you. So, yeah, check them out. They're looking good.
Okay, well, thank you very much for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
Get in touch and keep watching science fiction.
Definitely.
See ya.
See ya.